So now we hear the phrase, knowledge is power. We've been using that phrase for generations. A lot of people don't really understand what it means. It just sounds like something cool to say, knowledge is power. You're really going to understand how knowledge is power if you don't already by the end of this DVD. But you're really going to get an in-depth understanding about knowledge and why it's important to know things and understand stuff. Now, we talked about energy, we talked about frequency, vibration, and what have you. And as I said, we really didn't get into the application of this power. And, it all sounds well and good. A lot of people talk about this stuff, but the application is what we need to know. And it's going to sound, when you start getting into this stuff, as we've been talking about, a lot of this stuff sounds a little spooky and out there. And you have to understand that, based upon the laws, the rules of this reality, and understanding how stuff works, how energy works. We got into energy a lot. I mean, you're going to be able to see and understand why things go a certain way and how they are able to manipulate us using our energy and consciousness. So this is what I really want you to take away, from this DVD is the application of knowledge and how all this stuff comes together and fits into a process that you must, it's a way of life you must live by. And it's a process that you must understand and live by it and be true to it in order to get everything you want to get out of your own energy and out of the energy of the universe and out of your consciousness. And they have figured out a way to use our consciousness and our energy to manifest exactly what they want. They are master manipulators. If any of you get into the archons and get into the demiurge, I talked about a little bit, and start understanding about what the Gnostics talk about as far as these archons and what they can do, how they are master manipulators and able to manipulate information and use it to create new stuff. They can't think of nothing on their own. They can't invent anything. They have to steal everything. And when you start to pay attention to that and look at our oppressors and how they have been doing things, you see how it kind of fits. And this is exactly what they're doing. So, you have to understand, one, everything is information. Energy is information. And that is very important to understand and know, because you got to think about it, even if when you take it back from consciousness to energy into those atoms and elements. Those atoms and elements, or those atoms got to come together, those hydrogen atoms. Certain amounts have to come together to form certain elements, to give us certain particles and elements, to give us certain materials. That whole process is knowledge. That is information, I should say, That whole process is information. It's information. And it's one of the reasons why they call the internet the information superhighway. The energy is carrying information. Think about that. It's the same thing when, as I talk about in meditation, when you send an electrical signal to the brain telling your body to do something. And remember, I said it happens really fast. So you have to think about it. What is that? It's an electrical signal coming from your brain down your spine telling your arms to move. Now, when you think about information, you think about decipherment, because you can get information, but do you understand that information? Do you know how to decode it? What is it talking about? If you don't understand it, you can't decode the information. So again, going back to the electrical signal that is sending information to your body, to your brain, what is that? What is the language that it's speaking that your body understands it and is able to execute the plan? And when you get into the essence of it, as I said before, the energy is basically consciousness itself in a physical form. It's a part of it. Remember, it all starts with the energy. That's still consciousness. That is consciousness turning itself into pure power and beginning to execute a plan that it already knows what the plan is. And it's using that knowledge and information that you really have to, it blows your mind when you think about it. Where did it come from? How did you know? Is it a part of a plan, a process? What is that you understand that this energy is making atoms and elements and bringing this stuff together to create this physical matter? It's mind-boggling. And then when you break it down to the body itself and you see how we are rapidly sending so much information through our body daily. You know, I think I said before, it's about 70,000 thoughts that we process per day. And if you were conscious of each and every thought, I mean, you would lose your mind. You would go crazy. There's no way you can consciously process 70,000 anything in a day. It's just crazy. Not a regular human conscious brain. So you start to think about it and you understand that, you know, again, this is information. Information is important. It's a big key. So you got information, which is information. Formation. And what is formation? You know, formation is when you are preparing. You are coming together for something. You are bringing something into existence. This is formation. So you got information. You have this knowledge, this information, these elements, these atoms coming into formation to create. So information is telling you that this information has a purpose. All information has a purpose. And that is to lead you to a completion. Plain and simple. So if I give you some instructions on something, you're going to follow this information to completion. Now, when you can automatically process information and execute it without any kind of instructions or what have you, you know, that is knowledge. You learn something, you can go ahead and do it. You know, if I told you to recite all the periodic tables of elements, a lot of people will have no clue. They don't have that information. They don't know. They don't have that knowledge. Those who learned will have the knowledge and will be able to recite it. You know, so it's just that little bit of thinking that lets you understand how important knowledge is. Because if I was to tell you to do something easy, like, do these math problems, and it's all multiplication tables, 2 times tables, you can do that, no problem. You're like, well, this is easy. It's easy. You know it. It's in you. But when you can execute things like that, something small, as far as 2 times tables or what have you, or anything that's really easy that we all know how to do, putting together a jigsaw puzzle, stuff like that, easy, simple stuff. It's like, you have this information in you, it's in there, you can go ahead and execute and do what you need to do. It's almost as if sometimes your body just goes. And this is how, when you start to understand the process of us growing up, you never forget how to walk unless something happened to you. You remember how to walk. You started out crawling. You learn how to walk. And it comes so easy to you after a while. Of course, you're walking for the rest of your life until you're old enough where you can't walk no more. But it's not something you have to relearn because it's a part of you. It's in your DNA. It's a part of the process. You learn how to walk. You learn how to talk. It's embedded within you, your DNA. And you execute this stuff every single day. And you carry out this information. It's knowledge to you from the rip. So this is a principle that you need to understand about that, about information, becoming knowledge, and becoming normal. This is huge. Trust me, it's all going to make sense later. And it's just as simple and easy as that, as taking in the information and understanding how important it is and getting it in you and then executing later to where it's flawless, it's knowledge, it's no problem at all. So now basically taking information and applying it to our lives or executing the plan of this information is how we bring things into physical reality. It's how we create. There's an idea first. You get the information, you put the idea together, and then you bring something into physical reality. Now, the process, the time that you spend applying information and creating and bringing things into existence, the more time you spend on this, over time you acquire knowledge because you have repetition of information that you are using to bring things into physical existence. And eventually it will become second nature to you, and it will be knowledge to you. Knowledge. A master doesn't go and pull out a book. He doesn't really speak on things that he doesn't know about or hasn't experienced. He has experience, which is why he has knowledge. He's old, wise. And sometimes, of course, we got to pull out books to show and prove things to people. But for the most part, when we pulled the book out to show you this stuff, we already understand what it's talking about. We have prior knowledge. And as I talked about in the Frequency DVD, when you get to that point where it's knowledge, you get this stuff in you. As I said, you know it by heart. And this is where this energy emits from, the electromagnetic field, coming from the heart. That's how we tap into the energy of the universe, the energy of this planet, and how we, will later learn to manifest. And it's everything. Getting it in here and knowing it first. Knowing is really important. So when you understand that, when you start applying all of this information and you have this knowledge and it's coming out naturally, normally, then this is how we bring things into existence. Plain and simple. So you can't just go and, look at something that's really complicated and then execute it. This is why we go to school. This is why you have to learn. It's important. You're not just going to accidentally, build a computer. You're not going to accidentally put together a car. It requires prior knowledge. You need a lot of information to do that. And, when we grow up and we are taught to walk and talking, can you imagine trying to make a little baby comprehend speech? It's built into our DNA. So eventually that's going to come. Walking as well, we show a little bit, but over time, of course, you see kids, they get up and try to walk all the time when they get to that certain age. The information is built within us. So when you start to understand this gives us proof positive that there's a dualistic nature to us and to reality. And that's going to be one of the biggest things we're going to get into in this DVD. It's understanding that it's a dualistic nature to us. The reason why we know that is because, as I said, you're not just going to accidentally build a computer. You need knowledge. You need to understand what that is. If you didn't learn this stuff or know it, how the hell are you just going to put together, a computer without no prior knowledge? It's not going to work. You're not going to know where to start. So the reason how we know we have a dualistic nature to us, meaning we have this physical, energetic self. We have this masculine, feminine energy, which we're really going to get into. It's because the simple fact that we do something amazing. We come together in complete ignorance and create life without knowing what that process is, without having the information of what's going on in our bodies, what's happening with our energy, to make this unbelievable, child, this unbelievable, energy come into physical existence. And it's something that, of course, has been perverted and that we take for granted. And it's the most amazing thing that we do. And we are completely ignorant of it. We can go, you can look up any medical dictionary and look at exactly how they explain penetration or what have you. But who understands all this going into sex? They didn't understand it, 2,000 years ago. They had absolutely no clue. Yet they was having sex. They was making babies. No knowledge, no information of how. It's just you come together. Next thing you know, oh, well, pregnant. So understanding this is understanding that there's something a part of us. There's something to us. That one has this information built within us, and that it is executed upon a certain unique meeting. Because we all know you can have sex 50 times, no condom, no protection, no baby, nothing to happen. It has happened to many people, and of course, a lot of people would think it's something wrong with them, but then all of a sudden, the woman's pregnant. I can speak from experience. Been in that situation before, where it's like, man, she ain't pregnant. What's going on? There's something wrong. So this is something that we're going to touch on and get into to really get you guys to understand the dualistic nature and about masculine and feminine energy and how it appears in so many different things. And it's one of the major keys to manifestation and understanding how to apply this whole energy and power that we have to our physical reality and into our life. So again, we have complex formation of a child. without prior knowledge. You have manifestation of a physical being without prior knowledge. You have a baby that grows and develops inside of a woman's womb, and she has absolutely no clue exactly what's going on or what is developed and how it grows and how it forms. No clue at all. It's just 9 months, bing, time to pop the baby out. And it's like, wow, there it is, but no knowledge and, no information. It's the same with the dream world. You go to sleep every night, have absolutely no clue that you are in the bed sleep. You have no clue, no information about what's really going on in your dream and, how any of that got there. It's super complex. And there it is, manifested as if it was real, physical, reality. So again, this stuff just goes to show us the creation of human life begins with something outside of the physical body. It's just that simple. And it's tough to fathom. And we're going to get into this. It's tough to think about. There is no way you should be able to do what we do, even in a sense of healing, without understanding how. So as I talked about before, we have this process that's happening in our body. A lot of people don't realize that energy is keeping your bowels in, it's keeping your urine in, it's keeping your heart pumping, your organs moving. This is energy that is doing all this. When you die, you release all of that. Your bowels release, you pee on yourself, the whole nine. That's one of the ways you can tell a person is dead. You don't really got to check their pulse. They do that whole thing in the movies where they check your pulse because checking for piss and shit is nasty. You don't want to put that in movies, but it's all you got to check for. If it's urine, if it's poop, they're gone. Plain and simple. So everything releases. It's energy holding this stuff together. The same thing, as I said, when you're healing. You cut a dead body, it's not going to heal. There is no energy there. The process is not happening. It's telling you, it's clear proof positive. There's something outside of the body. And we talked about this, we got into all this, but I have to reiterate this for those who might not have seen it and because it fits with everything that's coming up. But really get that into your head and understand that, that question, if you have this energy outside of the body and this energy, this information doing things without your conscious understanding, again, what is that? What is that? And again, as I said, understanding how you have information that is needed to bring stuff into physical reality. So just think about that for a second, because when we come back to it later, then you're going to get what I'm talking about. You're going to understand. But it's important to know that when we start to pay attention to our lives, even when you look at, on an animal level, how things are done and how they must have a different, situation for them that they are bringing things into physical. They're having babies, they're laying eggs, and they're able to do this. And you have to ask yourself, because we can't talk to them, do they know? Or do they understand? We all seen the video when the kangaroo comes out the pouch and knows how to feed. Knows how to feed already. Same thing with our kids. Baby come out, don't know nothing, but it knows how to suck on a nipple. Information is passed down. And it's like, who programmed the first to pass down this information? Or did the first have any information? And was it just their life experience of gathering information that they was able to die and then pass on what they learned in that first life, pass it down to the next generation and so on and so forth, or to their offspring while they were alive? So these are things you got to really ponder and go back to and think about, how you can just have a baby and automatically, sometimes your baby too bad as shit, bad as hell little baby. And you're like, how did my baby get so bad? And we're not realizing how we're passing down the information. It's the reason why they put us in chains. It is the reason why we went into slavery for so long. So as I always say, I make videos for a reason. I make these DVDs for a reason. And it's to really be able to convey and get the knowledge to you. Now, we got into an ancient history part 1, which part 2 is coming out soon. Talking about the Greeks. talking about how the Greeks are behind all this stuff. Same thing in Greek mythology, part 1. We got into all this information, and you really got to start to understand that, they have been good at hiding who they are and what they have done. So a lot of things that you might want to figure out, you're going to realize you got to go back to Greeks. You got to go back and look at the Greeks, who was, closer to Kemet than anybody, that was there. So we look at, in Greek mythology, or we look at Thoth, Tahuti, and we understand the correspondence with him and Hermes Trismegistus, or Hermes, what they call him in Greek mythology. And Hermes has, the cult of Thoth, and, you have the whole Kabbalion, which we'll get into here as well. You have the Kabbalion, you have the Kabbalah, and you have this knowledge that was basically, coming out from the Greeks for a while, getting into exactly what I have been speaking about here. So now, with the whole Kabbalion and the whole cult of Thoth and the Hermetic Text or what have you, all that stuff is really getting into a few different things. And, it's really talking about the physical, mental, and spiritual planes. It's talking about the principles of polarity, rhythm, vibration, the principles of gender. That is big. We won't get into that, cause and effects. I talked about in the Metal Netter series about how there's no way you can equate the Egyptian hieroglyphics into our alphabet. This is basically externalized aspects of nature. It is in nature anthropomorphized and personified to give us an allegorical story about the nature of reality, the human body, existence itself, the purpose of why we here, and, everything we're trying to figure out as far as what happened in the past. It is so much information that has been put into so many different, characters, beings, deities, to really express this one universal story or principle or law that has to do with everything. And this is what was in Kemet, what is still in Kemet, and what they got out of there. So as I said before, there's no way, because I said, you got a lot of people who believe the Metal Netter was never deciphered. And it's really hard when you start to see what these people are doing and what they are using. There's no way they left Kemet and let it be buried in the sand without getting this knowledge first. And they understood that the knowledge was so powerful and it was so good that they didn't care about the gold, the diamonds, the artifacts, or anything else. They left. They let it get buried. They didn't care. They let the Arabs take over Kemet so that we don't get it, because they understood the key to this was us. And they let it go because the information that they got, what they deciphered and understood, was that much more powerful. You got to really think about that. So, I said before, they are using this stuff against us. And what they are using really is the teachings of Thoth, of Tahuti. This is why Tahuti is associated with magic. And you have Hermes associated with Tahuti. Hermes is basically where they get magicians and wizards. It's from Hermes. Hermes also said, know thyself, as above, so below. And when you start to pick this stuff up and understand where they're taking this stuff from, it tells you that they understood the glyphs. They understood what the Egyptians was talking about. And all of this information is esoteric. It is occult. It is so hidden. And it's like so damn near. I mean, you have to be obsessed like me to really start putting this stuff together. But they did a long time ago. And it's because I've been obsessed and because I've been digging into this stuff for years that I've been able to put this stuff together and see what's going on and to realize that we are experiencing it every single day. That they're using the power, the teachings of the mystery school and manipulating us, using it against us. Because you got to understand, as I keep talking about, they can't do what we do. They know what we can do and what we're capable of. Crowley figured it out. And if you can't use the energy to manipulate consciousness, to manipulate, let's just say, the material world, If you don't have the pineal capacity or the energy, the melanin to manipulate matter, to manipulate the consciousness of what's going on the planet, you have to control the people who can. And that's what it's all about, people. This is what they're doing. I've talked about this before. They are using us. I don't think you grasp or understand what I'm saying when I say they are using us to fulfill their agenda, to create the reality that they want. So everybody's in a panic thinking that they're going to kill us. No, they're going to use us until they get their hands on every single inch of this planet and create a system where everything is not organic. It has to do with energy and freaking, metal and all kinds of non-organic stuff. That's when they'll do away with us, because that's where they're headed. This is what they've been telling you in so many movies, that they can't do organic. They can't do all this organic, natural stuff. It's killing them. They can't deal with the sun. It's killing them. They're going to try to come up with an alternate way to change everything into synthetic and to be able to live by it. Think about it. We think it's cool to be, half man, half cyborg. Why would you want to do that when you got the power, the capacity to regenerate your limbs and become a powerful being in the flesh if you got to that point? As I said, what is it about these people? What human wouldn't want to reach the pinnacle, the top, the apex, the climax of their existence and become this universal, this powerful being on this planet? Why wouldn't you want to fulfill your destiny as a human on Earth? Unless you can't. Unless you can never reach that point. Unless you know you can't reach it, and the only people that can reach it is your enemy. Not really your enemy. You made it, your enemy. But think about it. This is what's been going on. So now they understand. And that's why they put it in the Bible. They went down there and confounded their speech. The people are one. Genesis, I believe it's 11, 1 through 9. Remember, it's talking about the people are one. Now, nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Nothing. That means they can do anything. So we need to go down there and confound their speech and scatter them, separate them. And the Bible is giving you a hint. This is why we are in there, why they're speaking to us when you start to understand the parable, what it's talking about. So they have effectively enslaved us, stripped away our knowledge, because as I said, we have been reincarnating, passing down this knowledge like we've been passing down the knowledge to walk and everything else. We've been reincarnating, passing down this information and knowledge, and every time they destroy us, they look over and see another African kingdom with the knowledge of the ancients, with the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians. Now they got to go destroy that. So it gets to a point where they say, you know what? We got to come up with some kind of weapon. We got to go and take all of these kingdoms down, enslave them for hundreds of years until when they reincarnate and pass down their information, the only information they pass down is the information of a slave. And this is what we have been effectively passing down. And lucky for us, we have people like Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark and Ivor von Sertova, and all these scholars, doctors and people, researchers that have spent time to get this information into our consciousness and begin to spark something within us that will recognize who we are and our information and where we came from. And a movement has sprung up. And, some of us have decided to put ourselves at the forefront and put ourselves out there to get this knowledge into your consciousness so you understand. It's sad that I have to sell these DVDs. I can't really put this information out there. It's crazy. And now, as I have shown you, anything good I put up, and I have a couple other videos that they have now censored to where they ain't completely take it down. You can still click on it and watch it, but this is where it's heading. And then it's still so messed up that you can't even, spend your time, because this is a lot of time, that I spend to put this stuff together, that you can't even do it and put it out there And the people who you're trying to save is not going to really appreciate it. And as you put all that effort and knowledge and, real powerful information out there just to be ripped apart by the very people who you're trying to save. So, I always thank you guys for, purchasing and everything like that. But that is why. Because at least there's people out there, that appreciate the information, that understand what this stuff is about. But you guys need to understand that part. That's what it's about. This is what they're doing. They can't use it. They can't use the power. They need to manipulate us to have us use it for them to create what we see today. This is why it don't seem like it's true, but this is why everybody follows us. The culture. You have to go look. I pointed this out. You got to look at the cultures. I don't care what country you go to. They're looking like us, dressing like us, and trying to be like us. They are following exactly what we are putting out. It's just that simple. It's because they're using our energy. They're using us, our consciousness, to shape this physical reality into what they want it to be. This is why they bombard us with everything. And it's us that push this agenda for them. With our consciousness, our energy, unknowingly, helping them push their agenda. So now, Tahuti, Thoth is more powerful than people realize in Egyptian mythology. A lot of people don't realize what Thoth really represents. Now, Thoth, of course, did not actually exist. He represents knowledge itself, information, wisdom, logic, truth. This is why you see him in a lot of different Egyptian stories being married to Ma'at. You see him there at judgment next to the scale of Ma'at. Thoth is considered just as powerful as Osiris in the underworld. So when you really start to look at so many different stories about Thoth and about what he really talked about and really dug into, since we're talking about information and knowledge and we're dealing with a god that was anthropomorphized into the ibis or ibis-headed man who represented wisdom. We're talking about information and wisdom. So where else would they go to get the information that they needed? They would go to Tahuti. And again, this is one of the reasons why they couldn't leave Kemet, because they obviously had his teachings, they had his writings, and they understood them. And they used them and continue to use them. Thoth is also associated with the moon, because the ibis has a beak and it looks like a crescent moon. And, Thoth, Tahuti, is the original philosopher. He is the originator of philosophy, plain and simple. So when you look at the Greeks, who, is credited with philosophy, and you got so many people who just don't get it, and they acting like the Greeks was doing all this stuff before they conquered Kemet. Just pay attention. You have them coming into Kemet learning. When Kemet was taken down, now all of a sudden they're great philosophers. Know thyself and everything like that. Clearly, they got it from Kemet. But I can't really be mad at Thales and Aristotle and what have you, or Pythagoras, because they gave credit to Kemet themselves. They gave the credit and said they went to the mystery schools and they learned from Kemet. It's just, of course, later on, the Greeks basically trying to make it like, they was the ones that came up with all this stuff. Tahuti is also depicted as a baboon, because at night, baboons are considered crafty and wise because they have many ways of escaping predators at night. You got to remember also that Thoth was the one who helped Isis with the ritual to bring back Osiris. It's a lot of stuff that people don't understand that Tahuti did. He took the poison out of Horus, when he was basically in a fight with Set. He taught him magic. He helped him out to help him to defeat Set. So many things, when you start to pay attention to the main stories in Egyptian mythology, you're going to find Thoth. You're also going to find him doing so many different things that deals with the knowledge, holding all the knowledge of Kemet. Think about that. See, they're not putting it to you guys the right way. We're talking about these Egyptian gods and everybody want to talk about this and talk about that, but a lot of people don't give you what these people, these beings, these deities, these aspects of us, of nature, really represent and how important they are. And just as important as Osiris and Horus is, Tahuti, Thoth, would probably be equally or more important than these guys, because it's the knowledge. And this is what they took and this is what they have. So I'm saying this so you can understand the reason why they created Hermes Trismegistus, as so many scholars have pointed out, Azra Quasi being one. The reason why they created this is so they can steal the information from Thoth, transfer it to Hermes and say this is Hermetic Text and this is what they've been doing. And they gave us the Kabbalion. And, you know, when we get into the mystery schools and Egyptian mythology and everything that they have hidden and stored within these faiths, it's Tahuti, Sheshat, these goddesses, gods. And notice, you know, it's going to be a theme we got to get into and understand the dual nature. How you have Tahuti, you have Sheshat, you have them both dealing with knowledge, information, dealing with wisdom and everything like that. And it's always, when you start to pay attention, a consort of a male and female dealing with the same aspect of anything.